And now I have a brief video I want to show you about what you just did inside. So quite literally, if you were to, I don't know, after your coffee, cross the breezeway, choose to take out your electronic device, make a phone call, and call that person you sent those thoughts to, it'll be the best call they receive in a long time. If that person is no longer with us, one of the things that you can do is to call someone who knows that person or someone who truly knows you and share those thoughts with them. It'll help with your sleep quality, your subjective well-being, your sense of happiness, and it will also help you to be more patient. It's one of the benefits of gratitude. It's difficult to be angry at the world when you're feeling grateful. And there's a lot of people who have issues with this. Ellen Galinsky does a survey of the United States youth, children ages 8 to 18 years old every 2 years, and asks them, what are you most worried about? And these children, ages 8 to 18 years old, say, I'm most worried about mom and dad. 2 out of 3 children wish that their parents were less stressed and less tired. We need more gratitude in our lives. We need less stress, of course, in our lives. When we are at work, unfortunately, all we can think about is catching up on sleep. When we're at home, all we can think about is how we're not done with our work. And part of this is due to our relationships with our devices, and we don't have good boundaries with our telephones, with our cell phones, our iPads. In fact, Kathy Davidson, a colleague at Duke of mine, says one of the best things we can do for peace of mind is to update our away message so that when we're away from our computer, we give people a sense of predictability that we won't be responding. I want to share with you my old away message before Kathy taught me this lesson. My old message, this is my Christmas break message, says, thank you for your message. I will be away from my computer and will only be checking messages a few times until January 3rd, 2014. Please contact me on my cell phone if it's urgent. And then, like an idiot, I give my cell phone number to anybody who has my email address. Thank you and enjoy your holiday. Here's my new away message. Thank you for your message. I am away from my computer and my messages are automatically deleted by our server until I return January 3rd. If your message is important, please resend it to me at that time. Raise your hand. How many of you are on Facebook? Yes, you're all in big trouble. Interestingly, a recent survey of workers in the U.S. showed that if you ask people, what are you doing right now? I'm at work. What do you wish you were doing? More people wish that they were updating their Facebook status than wish that they were having sex. What is wrong with you people? The problem with technology like this today is that we just don't have good boundaries. When we're with someone we love, we're not really with them. When we're teaching our children, we leave so much of it up to devices. We give them an iPad, we put them in front of a movie. They tug on our pant leg and say, Mommy, Mommy, Daddy, Daddy, I need to talk to you. And we say, just a minute, I have to finish this email. And that teaches our children that our devices are valuable and our devices are sources where they can learn values. And that's not the right message. When our children are together, they're not actually together. They're with their devices mostly. When we're at the breakfast table or the dinner table, we're not actually with each other. We're with our devices. Adults, pretending like they're above it all, are still victim to the same draw. Children trying to relax are not really relaxing because they never turn off their access to the world and the access that the world has to them. We're taking inappropriate selfies. And this is an actual picture from a stairwell in a Paris hotel room. It says, in case of fire, exit building before tweeting about it. The fact that we have to say that says a lot. How many of you are familiar with the that song? What's her name? The singer Kelly Clarkson, thank you, who says, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. As a psychologist, I have to say this should read, "If you manage to survive and were fortunate enough to spend time recovering and reflecting within a robust support structure, you may, despite your weakened state, glean some helpful insights." Anyone who calls that stronger is an asshole. Just a few weeks ago in the New York Times, there was a feature article called "Why You Hate Work." I'll read to you the first paragraph. It says, "The way we're working isn't working. Even if you're lucky enough to have a job, you're probably not very excited to get to the office in the morning, and you don't feel much appreciated while you're there. You find it difficult to get your most important work accomplished amid all the distractions, and you don't believe that what you're doing makes much of a difference anyway. By the time you get home, you're pretty much running on empty, and yet you're still answering emails until you fall asleep." This is about burnout in our society, our lack of resilience, lack of wherewithal. We're giving much more now than we used to. People who say, "Well, back in my day, we didn't complain about being tired." Well, back in your day, you didn't have Google, which means you're plugged into the entire universe of information 24 hours a day. You have access to everything and everybody, and everything and everybody has access to you. There's no turning it off like there used to be. When it comes to burnout in the United States, about 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4 Americans suffer what's called burnout syndrome, being emotionally exhausted. I study physicians and nurses and respiratory therapists and pharmacists and others, social workers. That's what I do in my research. And it's about half of healthcare workers are burned out. That's reaching epidemic proportions. But just 1 out of 4, 1 out of 3 of the average American worker have burnout syndrome. It means you have less of yourself to give, less opportunity to notice, less energy to put into things like gratitude. And this is important too because as human beings, we are hardwired, unfortunately, to notice the negative. We notice bitterness more readily than we do sweetness. If you get 2 bits of information, 1 bit of information says, "A neighbor has prepared a delicious stew." And another bit of information is, "The enemies have stormed the beach and they're setting fire to the houses along the beach." Which piece of information is going to help you survive? Having a negativity bias is good for keeping our genes in the gene pool, but it doesn't make us happy. In fact, Barbara Fredrickson, psychologist at UNC, for whom I have a tremendous amount of respect, says our genes have these great tricks for keeping themselves in the gene pool. We have the ability to worry about the future. That's good for preventing bad things from happening. We have the ability to remember all the bad things that have ever happened to us and ruminate and marinate. We spend our present moment worrying about the future, worrying about the past. We even have the ability to to anticipate creatively new things that might possibly go wrong. We have 4 children in my family, and we're friends with other families that have 4 children. We kind of find each other magically. I'm not sure how that works, because less than 3% of the population of parents have 4 or more children. But we find each other. We find sympathy and solace in looking into each other's tired eyes and saying, I know. Not too long ago at my dinner table in my kitchen, there were 4 mothers of 4 children talking to each other. And as I walked into the kitchen, I heard one mother say to one of the other mothers of 4, okay, so the minivan goes off of the bridge and it's hurtling toward the water. Which child do you unbuckle first? You know that scene from Aliens where you just want to back up slowly? Each of these mothers had an answer for this question, including my wife. Of course, you unbuckle the oldest so they can help you with the younger children. Everybody knows that, because they've all thought of this very scenario. Every one of them have anticipated new things that might possibly go wrong. Baboons don't do this. Fruit flies don't do this. This is a uniquely human trait. This focus, this infatuation we have with the negative, it helps us with our survival, but it doesn't help us with our happiness. We need to make extra effort to be not just a survivor in this world, but a thriver in this world. And gratitude holds some unique opportunities for us in this regard. Let me give you a quick definition of gratitude. The quality of being thankful, readiness to show appreciation for and to return kindness. Bob Emmons is a psychologist at UC Davis. He's one of the leading experts. Many consider him to be the leading expert in the world for studying gratitude. He says gratitude has 2 key components. First, it's an affirmation of goodness. We affirm that there are good things in the world, gifts and benefits that we have received. But the second part of gratitude is that we recognize that the sources of this goodness are outside of ourselves. We acknowledge that other people, or even higher powers, if you are of a spiritual mindset, gave us many gifts, big and small, to help us achieve the goodness in our lives. There are good things, and they come from outside of us. That's gratitude. Gratitude also has an element of surprise to it. Think of what that could have been like. I'm so grateful that it wasn't that way, right? Gratitude, at its simplest, is one of 10 elemental positive emotions. I'll just read them to you real quick. Joy, gratitude, serenity or being at peace in the world, being interested, feeling hope, pride, amusement, inspiration, awe, and love. These 4 emotions are what we cultivate when we're meditating. They're what we cultivate when we're trying to make sense of the world. And when you have more positive emotions, really good things happen. This is research from Barbara Fredrickson. She shows that with positive emotions like these, you see new possibilities, you can bounce back from setbacks, connect with others, and become the best version of yourself. This kind of positive emotion brings lower blood pressure, less pain, fewer colds, better sleep quality. She covers this research in her book, Positivity. It's a great read. I highly recommend it for people who are interested in this topic. Positive emotions are different from other kinds of emotions. Think of negative emotions. Can someone name a negative emotion for me? Give me a negative emotion. Somebody say hate? Who said hate? Did you have someone in mind in particular? No? Okay. Hate, fear, anger, worry, shame. What happens, thank you, Bodan, what happens when you feel a negative emotion is your perception of the world shrinks. If you feel hate, what you notice becomes narrower. It leads you towards what we call in psychology a specific action tendency or a behavioral outcome. Hate leads you toward to attack, verbally or physically. Shame or fear leads you to run away, get the hell out of there, right? These negative emotions shrink our perception of the world into cognitive tunneling that gets narrower and narrower. That's what negative emotions do. Positive emotions, on the other hand, are just the opposite. If you feel hope, it actually opens up what you're noticing about the world around you. What else might go right? When you feel gratitude, you think to yourself, my goodness, this is such a wonderful place. Perhaps I should notice some more. Barbara Fredrickson has shown in her work that there's a ratio of positive to negative emotions that works really well for most humans. It's actually 3-to-1. If you can experience 3 positive emotions for every negative emotion, you can still thrive. It's not 3-to-0. It's 3-to-1. Low performing groups, they average 1 positive emotion for every negative emotion. Mid-performers, 2-to-1. High-performing groups average 6 positives for 1 negative. Think about it like this. Divorcing couples and individuals with clinical depression experience 0.5 to 1 positive emotion for every negative. Most people are about 2-to-1. Only about 20% of us are 3 positives for 1 negative. You know those couples that have been married for 40, 45, 50 years, and they're hanging on each other, and they say, we love each other right now just like the day we got married. And you just want to punch them in the face. You know those couples? They actually average 5-to-1, those jerks. There's a limit to this positivity ratio. Once you get to 11 positives for 1 negative, it starts to backfire. You don't get the benefit anymore. Once you get to 17 positives for 1 negative, it's quite bad for you. This is someone who says, oh, don't worry about me, it's just a flesh wound. I'll be all right. So how do we cultivate positive emotions? If we know that it's difficult to cultivate positive emotions like gratitude, Barbara Fredrickson has a wonderful quote. She says, the negative screams at us, but the positive only whispers. I want to speak to this for a moment. In the United States and around the world, we have a negativity bias. We know that burnout is prevalent. It's everywhere. And my favorite tool inside healthcare and outside of healthcare related fields is a wonderful tool for cultivating gratitude and other positive emotions. It's called 3 Good Things. It's quite simple. When I explain it to you, you won't believe me. That's fine. Let me explain to you 3 good things. 3 good things. This is actually my opportunity to showcase my 4 good things. This is my 12-year-old son, Parker, my 9-year-old son, Simon, my 6-year-old daughter, Cassidy, and my 3-year-old daughter, Tatum. These little girls have power over me that the boys don't understand. This has nothing to do with the lecture. I am simply showing you my children. So, how do you cultivate gratitude? The definition and the elaboration on the definition that I gave you earlier by Bob Emmons. Bob Emmons has done wonderful research on this. He showed a number of years ago that if you keep a journal next to the bedside and you simply write at the end of the day a few paragraphs about that for which you're grateful, it improves your sleep quality, your subjective well-being, your happiness goes up, your depression goes down. It's quite nice. The problem is, for me and for many others, the idea of writing paragraphs every night seems kind of brutal. It's enough that we have to do every day. Do I really have to write in a journal every day before I fall asleep, even if the benefits are so profound? But he published this. It worked. It was pretty exciting to show that keeping a gratitude journal like this is about as effective, slightly more so in some situations, as being on antidepressants. Selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, like Prozac, Wellbutrin, are not as effective as a concentrated version of this writing about your blessings, things that you're grateful for. Let me explain. Marty Seligman was the president of the American Psychological Association for 9 years. He understood that getting people to write paragraphs and keep narratives in a journal was a lot to ask for people who were feeling depressed or burned out, busy and overwhelmed. And so he said, just keep it simple. Just 3 good things. Just write down good thing number 1, good thing number 2, good thing number 3. Bumper sticker, ... and then you're done. And showed that indeed it worked in his validation study in a randomized clinical trial. These are the same types of tests that you use to try out new pharmaceutical agents. He showed that people who kept 3 good things logs every day for a week, just 7 days, and then they stopped. And then you fast forward 6 months later, they're significantly happier and they're significantly less depressed, and that the effects were slightly better than Prozac. Now, there are a few drugs, there are a few pharmacological agents that you can take, and then you stop taking them, and 6 months later, you're still receiving a benefit. But cultivating gratitude is a muscle. It is skills, not pills, that makes a difference. It doesn't interfere with anything that you're already doing. Let's go back to Barbara Fredrickson's quote. The negative screams at you, but the positive only whispers. Raise your hand if you've ever had a hard time remembering a good joke. There's no survival value in remembering a good joke. There's no evolutionary benefit to that. Raise your hand if you've ever heard a rattlesnake rattle. You ever heard that sound before? You will eventually be in your late 80s. You won't be able to recognize your own children in a police lineup. But if you hear a rattlesnake rattle, you're going to say, oh snap, that's bad, right? That's really bad. So what we know is that we are, number 1, we're hardwired to remember the negative. Number 2, we know that we have enhanced recollection of things that we learn about, review, or read during our last 2 wakeful hours. This is what gives our brain fuel for our dreams, for memory consolidation and thought processing that happens while we're sleeping. So the best time to do 3 good things is not 7 in the morning. It's not noon. It's right before your head hits the pillow. That's the best time to write down 3 good things. So we say 3 good things in bed. Number 3, with practice, by day 4 or 5 of writing down your 3 things that you're thankful for that day, you actually go through your day noticing more things that you're grateful for. It is like a muscle. You'll notice it by day 4 or 5. That's when it starts to set in. In fact, 4 or 5 days of this activity is the equivalent of 3 or 4 weeks of meditation training in terms of its effect on your positive mood. It's pretty impressive. The way we handle this in my research is we get people to sign up for one of our studies, a 3 Good Things cohort, And then we send them an email every night at 7 p.m. for 2 weeks. We now know that 2 weeks works slightly better than 1 week. They get an email from us. It says, please click the link here to enter your 3 good things. To make sure that they actually do it, we have them send their good things to us. So you click the link and it sends you to right here. It says, do you want to share or not share your good things? That can be important because some people will say, good thing number 1, I wanted sex, I asked for sex, I got sex, yee-haw. Please don't share that. That's your good thing. So you click share or not share. About 90% of the people click share. Then you get to hit the next button, and it sends you to a page, and this is it. This is all 3 good things is. How to cultivate your positive emotions. Gratitude and other positive emotions, but largely 3 good things entries tend to be about gratitude. What went well today, and what was your role in making it happen? Good thing number 1, number 2, and number 3. That's it. That's it right there. And then we ask you to savor those positive emotions. Just hold on to it for a few extra moments and ask yourself, what's the emotion that you feel when you look back and you think about this good thing? Good thing number 1, my 5-year-old swam across the pool at the YMCA today without any floaties for the first time. From this drop-down box of emotions, which one of the positive emotions best fits how the good thing makes me feel? I'll say pride. I'm proud of her. Good thing number 2, I watched as a glorious pink and orange sunset behind the rolling hills where our leaves are changing colors. It was beautiful. What was my emotion? I'm going to say awe. Good thing number 3, I made my wife laugh so hard at dinner tonight her eyes watered, and so did mine. What was my emotion? Maybe it was amusement. Maybe it was love. That's it. You do this activity every day for 1 or 2 weeks, and you fast forward, and you look at the benefits. The other benefit is that it takes less than 3 minutes to do this activity, but then you get to read hundreds and hundreds of other people's logs of good things. And for many people, this is their favorite part. For example, bought hubby great jeans for half price as a surprise, right? Healthy niece per ultrasound. Spoke with my cousin. Enjoyed company of friends. My role not being too tired to meet with them, right? Whatever your good thing is, whatever it is to you, that's what you can put in your log. We've done this at Duke University for our residents, and we found they have lower burnout, lower depression, significantly lower. This is a big deal. They experience fewer delays, less conflict, and they have better work-life balance after doing 3 good things. They improve significantly. They're from 35% being resilient to 50% being resilient in just 2 weeks, which is a pretty big jump for something that they enjoyed to do. It didn't take very long. We then did this with our managers and directors across my health system. And we showed the managers and directors showed lower burnout, lower depression. They were happier, fewer delays, less conflict, and better work-life balance again. They went from 43% resilient to 62% resilient here in just 2 weeks for something that was fun, interesting, and they wanted to share it with friends and supervisors. It was easy. It was long-lasting. We've actually shown that the effects for the 2-week intervention last over a year. That's really exciting. The bottom line here, as I'm closing this, is that you can use 3 good things in any way you want. Here's a list. Here's just a sheet put up on a cork board in a random unit where people, as they walk by, would write down their good things. When I'm closing one of my staff meetings at work, we'll do a round robin, and I'll say, what's one good thing that's happened for you today? What's one good thing that's happened so far from your perspective today? And we give people an opportunity to really reflect on what's going well. Humans are capable of being physically, emotionally, cognitively, socially, financially, and spiritually overwhelmed from time to time. When we are particularly challenged, we need a combination of resilience role models, tools, strategies, and protected time so that we don't just bounce back, we bounce higher. One of my favorite quotes from Albert Einstein, and I had no idea this was from Albert Einstein until I finally Googled it. 100 times a day, I remind myself that my inner and outer life depends on the labors of others, living and dead, and that I must exert myself in order to give in the measure as I have received and am still receiving. Gratitude from Albert Einstein. I'll just end this portion today with a quick story about a Cherokee legend of the two wolves. A Cherokee is teaching his grandson about life. He says, "A fight is going on inside me, grandson, and it is a fight between two wolves. One wolf is evil, anger, envy, regret, greed, arrogance, guilt, resentment, lies, false pride, and ego." He continued to his grandson, "The other wolf is good. He's joy, gratitude, serenity, interest, hope, inspiration, awe, love, and faith. The same fight is going on inside you, grandson, and inside every other person too." The grandson thought about this for a minute, and then he asked his grandfather, "Which wolf will win?" To which the old Cherokee replied, "The one you feed."